Hello and welcome to another episode of Africa's Critical Thinkers. On this episode, I speak to Sibongiseni Kunene, co-founder of Tukk Tukie, a transport company that helps commuters get from door to destination. They currently operate in Soweto, Florida, and West Dean. I've known Sibongiseni for a while now, since university days, and have witnessed his entrepreneurship journey unfold. Let's start the conversation. Just to start off, maybe you can introduce yourself and give us like a brief background of who you are, where you're from, where you grew up, like how many siblings you have, you're the firstborn, lastborn.
Okay. Hi guys, I'm Sibongisani Kunene. I'm from Durban. I grew up in a family of four in Durban. I spent most of my upbringing in Durban, so my junior education and up until your high school. When I got to high school level, after high school, I moved to Johannesburg. Basically, that's when I was fortunate enough to play a lot of sports during my time. So I got a scholarship to play rugby. So after leaving school, I had no intention of actually going into business. School was always like there for me, but for me, I was more interested in going into sports when I finished school. So I grew up in a family of four, typical black household. Father went to work, mother was a nurse, and we did well where we could, and education was obviously the most black families growing up. Education was obviously key, so we had to work hard at school, even though you were playing your sports and all of that.
So I know you are involved in a couple of, or have been rather, let me say, involved in a couple of businesses. So maybe you can chat to us about your current business and what brought on the idea to starting it.
Yeah, well, we have a couple of businesses that we've managed to start. I've always believed in entrepreneurship. Even when I was at university, it's something that I've always been intrigued about, starting a business, having employees, having the bottom line basically stopping with you. So we started transport's always been a problem, in South Africa. And we started a transport solution company which focuses on short distance travel within township communities in South Africa, which basically makes life easier for community members in South Africa who travel via taxi and then have to walk a long distance after traveling within their taxi to get to their home. This has been a problem since before our parents' times, etc., etc. Them holding plastic bags, walking 5 to 10 kilometers after the taxi leaving you at various points within the township or within the suburbs. So we find that, and that's just summary, basically, just of some of the things that we're trying to readdress as a business.
Yeah, and obviously, from starting a transport business like that is a lot of times very capital intensive. How did you start it from a funding perspective? Because a lot of entrepreneurs always say that I've got this great idea, but I just don't have the money. Was that something that you went through? Was that something that stopped you, or something that maybe you struggled with?
Yeah, of course. Every entrepreneur wants the bank to really back their idea when they've got it down on paper. But ours was more of we had to really sink our teeth into all the avenues that we could address. So we spoke to IDCs, we spoke to your Itala Bank, etc., etc. Of which we got funding for our first 2 vehicles, but the third vehicles we had to take upon ourselves in terms of using our own capital, of which we pooled the money together, and then we began from there.
Yeah. And from a banking, while we're on the funding element, do you think that in South Africa, banks can play, or banks or government can play a stronger role in supporting entrepreneurs? When you started, did you feel like you were supported by the banks? I mean, even though you got funding, you mentioned, but did you feel like they really backed you and they provided you with funding that is suited to your business, or they just basically gave you like a vanilla product without really understanding your business?
Yeah, I think there are certain banks in the country that do really look at you. I think they always look at you as put you in some sort of a risk profile category, which makes sense in South Africa. But to answer your question bluntly, the banks are very bottom line driven. So no, they did not assist us that much.
Yeah. And from just back to your business, so how long have you been running it for? And how long have you been running it for? And are there any lessons that you learned from the start, that things that you would have done differently now? Like if you knew these things, you would have started differently. And what are those lessons?
I think it was my main lesson that I learned is just to start. I think if we've been running to answer your question, the logistics company we're speaking of, we've been running for a year and a half. I think if we started in terms of maybe just putting our feet into the water, we did a lot of market research, and a lot of entrepreneurs get so caught up in paperwork and making sure everything is hunky dory before they actually just start. So my main message would be to entrepreneurs: start, no matter what. It doesn't make sense too much on paper, but as long as you as an entrepreneur have a vision and a goal and basically a bottom line to where you want to be, just start. I'd say they must just start. It's super important to start. And basically back your vision, back your goal, back yourself. There will be tough times, but you have to keep growing. You have to have faith in yourself and your product.
So let's actually talk about those tough times, because I know that the logistics business is obviously wasn't your first entrepreneurship endeavor. So you've obviously been in the entrepreneurship space for some time. You mentioned from university, but let's talk about the tough times and what gets you through the tough times. Like, what are some of the things that have helped you over these businesses that you've started, including this logistics one? What are those things that have helped you get through the tough times? Because I know you've also, you can talk about some of the sacrifices that you've had to make to also be able to to run these businesses.
I started formal employment when I finished varsity. I was lucky enough to get a job after doing a BCom, of which had no real direction in terms of which field. Most people go into industry saying I've completed a BCom in accounting, in law. Mine was very vague. I had a BCom in entrepreneurship. So when I left school, it was difficult to find a job. So it helped me to sort of look for options and always look for revenue streams, not just one revenue stream, but 2 or 3. Even if I was within that job, I've always looked at options of making extra money, because we live in a world and economy that's very volatile at the moment, and having different streams of income is very important. So when I did start, sorry, getting a call. When I did start entrepreneurship full time, and it was very difficult. There are dark days. Days where you really can't pay your own rent, and you need some support, whether it's your family, whether it's your religious beliefs, whatever it could be, music. You need things just to make you positive. Whether you have a liking for sports, whether you have a liking for whatever it could be, to pass your mind and let your mind relax at times, and also refocus, re-energize, and really what you want and what you really want to achieve. Um, and yeah, always have daily affirmations. I have 20 affirmations that I say to myself. I'm talented. I am strong. I am resilient. Those types of things, they help in the morning. I'm not saying, I'm not trying to preach, but just to be mentally strong in this economy, you need to also, you within yourself, know when the chips are down, you need to back yourself.
Yeah. Look, obviously, you mentioned earlier you were a sportsman once upon a time, once in your day. And you, I mean, I've played sports with you multiple times, different disciplines of sports. But how important was sports, or the grounding of sports? How important was it to you becoming the entrepreneur that you are today? Because some of the things that you've just mentioned now, that your affirmations that you say in the morning, I mean, when you think about a sportsman, it's it's a high pressure setup as well. So do you think that sports helped shape your entrepreneurship journey? Did it make it easier? Did it prepare you better?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. It did, because sports teaches you how to lose. It teaches you how to cry. It teaches you how to wipe your own tears. It teaches you how to win. It teaches you how to work with other people, how to work in a team, how to use different people's strength at the right time, at the right place. It teaches you how to use your weaknesses as well, how to go back and look at where you went wrong, how you went wrong, etc., etc. So sports did play a big part for me, in terms of my mindset, in terms of approaching businesses, approaching losses, approaching victory. Because in sports, you learn how to win. You still have to shake the opponent's hand after the game. Those small fundamentals that also just play a big tweaking role at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I know with your current logistics business, you are in a partnership, which is also very similar setup to sports, team sports. How important is it for you to, how important? Oh, what was the process of you selecting your partners, and did it have an adverse impact or a positive impact on growing your company?
Choosing a partner is like choosing a wife.
What do you know about choosing a wife?
You need to have opposite strengths. You need to have certain qualities that one has and one doesn't. You need to find where your strengths are, and it literally comes with time. Also comes with a lot of trust and a lot of pulling in the one direction. Because working in partnerships these days is everyone with their own lives has their own dreams and their own paths that they would like to run. So if you have any similarities with it, if you have any similar attributes, the way you find harmony, that you guys can work together, then do it. But I do believe in South Africa it's tough to find partners that you can work with and grow with. But of course, the flip of the coin is that you can find partners that you can work with and you can grow with. They say you need 3 years me to be successful in a business. So I think so yeah.
And what does success look like for you? How do you define success?
Well, obviously different strokes for different folks. For me, it's a family that loves you, a family that is well looked after, a team that respects and are willing to work with you, and yeah. Name 4.
And from a business perspective, so from a growth perspective, like where do you want to see your business operate in? You know, like are you seeing yourself as do you want to stay niche? So you want to stay in like in specific areas, or do you want to see yourself as a household name? You know, like an Uber, even though there are differences, obviously, but you know, as do you want to see yourself as a household name, or do you want to stay niche?
Yeah, look, at the moment we would like to scale our product, our service. When I mean scale it nationally, regionally, and community. So those are the 3 segments we're focusing on at the moment. So you'd start with your different areas, and then you'd look into nationally, and then you look into those three markets that we're looking at. I would like, obviously, for our business to be scaled and used throughout the whole of South Africa and Africa.
Yeah.
Especially
so actually,
certain countries that we have identified, your Kenyas, your Malawi, Zambia, which probably would they would need the service, and we are looking to engage with those African countries.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question. From an African perspective, what you know, if you've identified any markets that you want to grow in, because South Africa's problems are very similar to a lot of other African countries' problems. So you know, your solution working here, it's highly likely that it could also work in other African countries. But just a few more questions. What is your ideal Africa or South Africa? Like, what does your perfect South Africa or your perfect Africa look like from a business perspective?
Well, it would be nice to see Africa being independent and being totally in control of its own resources, control of its processes, control of its business operations. I would like to see Africa exporting more, really pushing our own agenda and being in charge of our own futures. That's the main thing that I would like for Africa.
Yeah. And if there was one thing today that would change your business completely, that would help your business get to the next level, what would that one thing be?
Would probably locally markets. Africans are very traditional markets, so it does take a while to accept new innovations, new forms of doing business. So I would like, from my end, I would like the consumers and South African people in general to open up and give new ways of doing business a chance. Yeah. And support SMEs. I think it's big dog eat little dog at the moment in our economy, even in Africa, exactly. So I feel the support of SMEs, the support of young Black businesses should be at the forefront of our African agenda. They should be supported. They should be well looked after. And they should also be held accountable. I think we huff and puff about entrepreneurship. We huff and puff about a lot of issues. But at the end of the day, the entrepreneur is responsible for his own future. So he needs to also take account. And in Africa, we like to sit and then react. So I'd like us to be the ones making decisions and making the world react.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
I'm not sure. You're the one doing the interview.
Just checking, but that's all the questions from my side. But I think, as a very close friend of mine, as well as someone that I've basically grown up with, I've drawn a lot of inspiration from watching you, not just in the entrepreneurship space, but from when we were at university and playing sports. You're someone that's very dedicated to your cause. And once you set your mind on something, you quite adamant in achieving it. So I think you definitely will do well. And you operating in a space that is very competitive, but I think you're the right person to actually be in that space. So looking forward to watching you and your business move into, the next level and continually moving into higher levels and creating employment in the spaces that you guys are operating in, and really supporting the communities that you operate, which I know is something that's very important to you, supporting the communities that you are operating in. So, yeah, thanks for your time, man.
Thank you for listening. I hope the conversation inspired you to find African solutions to African problems. I am Kagiso Klobata, aka African Investor, and you have just listened to one of Africa's critical thinkers.